Hello,
Hello.
hello, hello, and happy new year. It's your old friends, Josh. And very happy new year. It has been a while since we have connected, and we are so happy to be here with you today. Today, we are tackling the topic of the mindset we all need this 2022 if we desire to evangelize.
hmm
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. We're a little bit on the groggier than normal side.
Why is that,
For
Josh?
those who haven't been following super closely, we welcomed a baby over the Christmas season, and we're delighted to welcome Andrew Thomas into the world. He's number 9 for us. He is a delight, adorable, wonderful, beloved by all. He's a bit of a nighthawk, though. Is that the word? He likes to stay
Yep.
up a fair bit.
He loves to eat during the night. That's his party time.
So we're a little bit we're lubricating a little bit extra with coffee these days.
Lots of coffee happening over here. Whether you are watching this live or on the replay, whether you've been in our community for a long time or if you are fairly new, we are very, very happy to spend some time with you. And today we've got two very important things to talk about: the topic at hand, mindset, and why this matters in the new year. And then we want to invite you to implement what we're talking about today inside of a challenge that we're going to be running inside of our Facebook group.
hmm
All right. So, Josh,
Yeah.
get us started. What are we talking about today? Why does mindset matter in all of this?
Well, there's a passage in the Bible that says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks." I think we could also apply that to our minds. What are we occupying our thoughts with? Um, if we desire truly to share Christ with others, to help others know Jesus, to tell them about Jesus and about the wonderful plan God has for each of us, for our salvation and for relationship with us, that has to occupy our thoughts. That has to be present to us, and hence the great importance of always nurturing our own intimacy with the Lord. That's what gives us actual topic matter to speak about with others. But mindset, is a passion, I know, for you, Lisa, very much, because sometimes our mind can kind of work against us, and we don't realize when it's tripping us up. Even though we might um, have a prayer life and love the Lord and believe everything the church teaches, we still might get tripped up a little bit in terms of going out and doing that sort of proclaiming aspect of our faith, because of just maybe small pitfalls that we're not even completely aware of.
Hmm.
We talk a lot about fear in Evangelist Basecamp, but often there's thoughts with those fears. And I know you counsel a lot of people building business and finding the fears that are tripping them up, and we thought that might be something worth talking about with regards to our faith as well.
Thoughts are what make goals happen or keep goals simply an idea. And the reason why this is important is because our thoughts are what actually trigger our actions. And so let's just here's an example. Um, if I want to clean my pantry, let's just say, with 9 kids now, my pantry basically is like a revolving door of clowns. Is that no, I'm mixing analogies. I'm mixing clown car and but
Yeah,
anyway,
you lost me there for a
if
second.
you can picture what I mean, it's just constant. It's like in and out, in and out, in and out. So the place can get trashed. It feels much better when it's clean. I can have a thought like, this is going to be so hard. I'm never going to get it done. What's the point? It's just going to get messy again. And that might propel me to go watch some TV, lie down,
hmm
just throw my hands up in the air.
hmm
Or I can have a thought like, this is going to provide such service to my family. When my pantry is clean, we can find things more efficiently. Every day, I have the opportunity to teach my children how to respect the pantry. Like, there are a myriad of thoughts that I could think that will actually make me tackle cleaning
hmm
and make it a fun, dare I say, rewarding experience. And there is no shortage of where this is talked about in our catechism and in the Bible. Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewal of your mind so that you may unite with the holy will of God. I paraphrase that last part,
hmm
apologies. And in the catechism, I want to invite you to go to 1776 and onward. That entire chapter there is on conscience, free will, reason. One of the things that has been new in the last little while since we've recently connected is that I have received some Catholic mindset training from the fine folks over at Metanoia Catholic and their Purgative Way program. So I now understand in a Catholic anthropology the importance of thought work and why we must hold captive, or why we must be very aware and continually be transformed by the renewal of our mind all the time. And so mindset can, it can be a triggering word for some. And so I invite you to separate that, or I invite you to just continue listening with an open mind. But as in Interior Freedom by Jacques Philippe, um, Brother Lawrence talks a lot about this in his writing. Saint Teresa Benedicta, Teresa of Avila. There are a lot of saints that talk about the kind of thoughts we need to have and how they need to be united to God. And so, no shortage of evidence in our church on why mindset is something to take very seriously.
Yeah, we're not talking law of attraction stuff here. We're not talking about like put out into the universe and the universe will give you back, that type of thing. We're talking about something very practical. We're talking about how grace builds upon nature. And a couple of traps we could fall into. One is to kind of get a little bit new agey and say, oh yeah, like if I just dream and put out into the universe, then I'll get this back because that's what I've attracted. But neither do we say, well, we'll just pray about it and then everything will work out. We still have to use our practical capacities that God has given us. Those are from God as well. So yeah, this is something that it is very important. It is very practical. Lisa gave the example of the pantry getting dirty. Practically speaking, we have to grab and nurse a baby right now. Practically, like another example would be with regards to painting in our house. We have a lot of little kids, as you probably know if you've been with us for a while. I was a little bit tripped up on some drawing on the wall that was happening, and I started painting it yesterday. There was a lot of internal, barriers around even starting that process, that project. But you have to make a decision and get your supplies and set yourself to it and create time for that task. And that only then can the task get done. Otherwise, we just can kind of ruminate and be frustrated about it.
So if you have been struggling with any kind of goal for the new year, so whether it be diet, whether it be exercise, whether it be wanting to read more, pray more, whatever it is, we want to invite you today to consider thinking about what your thoughts are for all of those goals, but what are your thoughts around evangelization?
Hmm. Yeah, I thought you were still going to say some more.
That's
Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay. And so why don't we go through maybe some possibilities, right? So if I'm thinking I would love to share the hopeful message of Jesus with others, but and dot dot dot. Let's look at what some of those but dot dot dots could be.
Mhm.
So, for example, Lisa, say somebody was to come to you and you were coaching them in their mindset around evangelization. They were to say, "I would love to share my faith with others, but no one's ever showed me how to do so." What would
Okay.
you respond?
So, what we like to do in mindset coaching is something called hold the thought captive, and a question that it's like you're interrogating the thought. So, what was the thought again, Josh?
No, I would love to evangelize, but no one's ever showed me how.
So, no one's ever showed me how. So, questions I love to ask when I look at that thought. And what we're doing is just creating a little bit of objectivity. So, we're looking at that thought. And a question I love to ask is this true?
Mhm,
Like, is this really true?
mhm,
So, in that case, I might ask them, okay, well, is this really true? And it may be true that
mhm.
nobody has showed them how.
Yeah,
But then you would say, okay, well, if you were shown how, do you think that you could, start sharing your faith with others and
right.
then, continue? One thing that I know I succumb to that I need to pay very close attention to is I don't have time.
Mm,
And it's interesting. I was reflecting on this before jumping on this webinar. Certainly, there's a lot of demands on my time. I've just had my ninth baby. I run a very busy business. Like there's a lot of things that you could certainly say demand my time.
right.
But then for me to say I just don't have time, if I were to hold that thought captive and really interrogate it,
Mhm.
I would find evidence that, well, you spend your time watching a lot of Disney Plus,
Mhm.
and you spend your time watching a lot of silly videos on YouTube. And if you were to really look at your screen time, here's how much time you spent on Instagram, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And so, of course, you can ask the question, is this really true that you don't have time? And I would have to honestly answer no.
Right. Yeah, and a great way to find that out this is kind of a side note, but it is interesting when you read kind of books about time management. They ask you to track what you're doing in each moment of the day. What you might realize is there is time, but often there's something else we're prioritizing that might not be as important. Like if I was to say I don't have time, I would love to read the Bible more, but I don't have time.
Mhm.
I very much value it. It's important, but I don't have time. If I was to look really closely, just like Lisa, I might find out, that there are certain habits like playing Tetris, where it's like, you know what, I could definitely read the Bible and delay starting playing Tetris, as I wind down in the afternoon, that type of thing.
So, a struggle for me is I will say I don't have time. What's a struggle for you? A thought, like a real thought that we could interrogate that is
Yeah.
totally just needs a mindset shift on.
It might be like I would like to do a program at my parish, but um, I emailed and they haven't got back to me about it yet. So
Okay.
so so a desire I had, yeah, it started in a way, or it was initiated, and then because it wasn't immediately responded to with great desire, it's kind of stalled.
So the thought there, if I were to just sort of make it a bit more succinct, if you will,
Hmm.
the thought there is I need to have my parish's support
Hmm.
to run an evangelization
Right.
initiative.
Right.
And if you were to hold that captive, if you were to say, well, is that really true?
Hmm.
What would you say?
No, you don't. You don't. It's a scenario that I've pictured. We will host it in this space, promoting it in this specific way, and that will be great. Um, but no, it can start in different ways.
And as you're watching this, feel free to type in the chat what is a thought that you have that might currently be getting in the way from you taking action. So we talked about um what was the first one we brought up?
I don't have time.
No, that was the
No,
second one.
first one was no one's ever shown me how to do it.
No one's ever shown me how. I don't have time. I don't have the support of the parish. Another one that I think is a pretty common one is I don't want to be judged, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't want to be misunderstood.
Hmm.
And what would you say, Josh, if you were coaching somebody on that one?
Yeah, so we can put a kind of pressure on ourselves to do the perfect thing or say things the perfect way. Whereas it's almost like we think that if I was to talk to somebody about Jesus and I said something wrong, then I actually alienated that person from Jesus. In other words, I was the only hope. In other words, we're putting it all on us instead of allowing God to work. And I can tell you I've
Mm,
done that in the past. When I worked in campus ministry, I can think of a time where I was dialoguing with a young man who was Protestant but had some questions about the Catholic faith, and we were talking. And at one point, I felt like I had said something maybe a little bit too directly or strident. I don't know if strident's the word, but like I
mhm.
just said it in a way that I was like, oh, maybe that wasn't received because after that he took out his phone and was like reading a text message and whatever. And then I didn't see him for a very very long time afterwards. And I thought, man, I guess I think I blew that opportunity for the Lord. Like I was the one talking to him, and I missed the boat. And in hindsight, I really don't think that way. We show up, we speak authentically from our hearts and from our own experience, and we have to realize that still the Holy Spirit is the main agent. Like we are not the
Mhm.
main agent in that,
Do
even
you know
though
what
we're
we call
trying.
this in coaching?
What do you call
Ungodly
it?
self-reliance.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just I think in a way it's coming from I don't assume it's coming from a nefarious place. It's just a misunderstanding of how God works in our
Mhm.
conversations.
Mhm.
So it's like we want to do this for God, not realizing God is also doing it with us.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, so that would be a thing I would say.
So those are some examples of mindsets that are not going to be helpful to us. And that's
Hmm.
the other way I'd like to talk about mindset coaching in. We have thoughts that are going to be helpful, like the examples I gave about cleaning the pantry, that this is going to serve my family. And then we have examples of thoughts that are going to be harmful, like what Josh was saying about painting. This is such a big job. Oh my gosh, there's so many steps. And so, really, even just that distinction, anytime you have a thought that you find is pausing you from taking action or moving forward or picking up the phone and calling or texting a friend or putting out an ask to the parish for space or sending the email. I remember I sat on an email to invite friends to Alpha
Hmm.
forever
Hmm.
because the thought in my head was, they're all going to think I'm weird.
Hmm.
And so, again, the next time you have a thought that pauses you from taking forward action, remember, you can ask questions like, is this a helpful thought or is this a harmful thought?
Hmm.
Is this really true that people are going to think I'm weird? And even if it is, does it really matter? And again, just to put a little bit of objectivity between you and the thought.
Do you know what's hard though, Lisa? Is like we don't know where we are on. We don't often know where we are on autopilot. Like, how do we realize when we are getting stalled? Because, like, in the experience of you with an email draft, not sending it to your friends, like if you push that out of your mind, you don't think about it that often, and
Yeah.
and life goes on. So how do we make sure that we are kind of on the lookout for areas we might be avoiding things?
I think this is where doing an examination of conscience that includes some kind of, did I preach the gospel today? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Hmm.
in my words,
Hmm.
period.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and in my actions, but of course,
Yeah.
that's the easier part, I think. But
Yeah.
um, an examination of conscience, I think, is an important one. But the thing, and this is why I am so committed to this You Evangelize experience. This is what fuels me to continue to do this kind of work, is where we might not have an established culture. Your church may not do anything
Hmm.
evangelization related,
Yeah, especially now.
exactly, with various parts of the world being in lockdown,
Hmm.
or you simply may not be friends with or have conversations with people who think about sharing the faith with others.
Hmm.
And that's fine. I'm not
Hmm.
trying to,
Hmm.
that's just the reality there.
Yeah.
So why don't we create it? Why don't we create culture like this community here where we can keep evangelization top of mind?
Hmm.
And I think that is a natural segue to share with you what we're doing inside of our You Evangelize Facebook group, which we will put the link for right below this video. And what we're going to do is we have created a completely free, uh, beautiful 5-part online course that we call Evangelist Basecamp, that we believe has the core components of what would get somebody from not evangelizing to understanding their identity as a missionary disciple, and then learning the tools to actually go out and spread the good news and open your mouth.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we are going to run a reboot. We're calling it Evangelist Basecamp Reboot, where the videos are going to be uploaded right inside of our Facebook group. So you don't have to log in anywhere. You don't have to do anything. You can log in if you prefer that kind of experience where you can hit next on a lesson and it's a little bit, sort of more user friendly, if you will. But we are going to host a reboot where we're going to encourage you to go through the modules and do the exercises. They are very simple and very short. You can get through Evangelist Basecamp in, honestly, like a weekend. Like,
Hmm.
it's not designed to be a long,
or
lengthy
or,
experience.
or like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes a day over a series of days as we upload each lesson.
The videos are very, very, very short. And so we want to invite you to join us in there inside of our Facebook group. We will again put the link below. It's called it's called You Evangelize Members. Join us in there where we'll be hosting this reboot.
Mm.
Josh, do you have any final thoughts on the mindset that we all need for 2022?
Yeah, just going back to the top. There's just a lot of places we can put our attention, and the new year is a great time for thinking about that. How we like what we're feeding our bodies, how we're using our bodies, what we're feeding our minds, our spirits, and Some people say New Year's resolutions, like, they're not valuable. Why do that? Because the reality is, a lot of them by March are kind of set aside.
Not even by March, by like the
Yeah,
30th of the month.
yeah, yeah. And so some people will say you can do a resolution anytime, and yes, I totally agree. But periodic periods of looking at how we live our life and how we do things, I think, is a valuable thing. And I shared on my Facebook that I was picking back up. Like, there's a lot different ways to read Scripture prayerfully, but I was picking back up this Bible in a year that I got a couple years ago. And I think it's good to just think about, like, how are we feasting on the presence of the Lord, the Word of the Lord. So you might be in a place where, gosh, our friends in certain provinces are, and I feel like we do talk about this in many webinars, so I don't want to belabor it. But when things are not normal spiritually and sacramentally for you, how are we still kind of dwelling in the presence of the Lord and feasting on His presence? And um, that does have an impact on your mindset. So there are different ways we can think about it, but continue to, I would say, dwell in the presence of the Lord, and you'll find the Lord um, gives you more insights and things to say when the opportunity does arise. See, when I worked in campus ministry, I remember there were times where I would be very, very, very consistent with my gospel reading first thing in the morning. And there'd be times where it's like I forgot it for a few days. But I would find that when I would remember it, even if I picked up where I left off, that the Lord would bring about occasions where, in conversations with people, something that I just read that morning would kind of be relevant, and I would talk about it. And so, again, we don't want to fall into this sort of godly self-reliance that it all depends on me.
Hmm.
But we also want to not fall into the self-reliance or the reliance of a memory of when we're regular in our prayer life or reading the Bible. We want to just continue to dwell with the Lord and be available to Him. And yeah, He'll give us an evangelist mindset.
And then my favorite way to look at mindset in any topic, and evangelization is no exception, is what is possible?
Hmm.
What might be possible? How could we make this possible? If you're familiar, I wrote a book called The Possibility Mom. Possibility is my favorite word, I think, because it just forces you to think of different solutions.
Hmm.
Think of how different it is than thinking there's no way I can do that.
Right, right.
How might it be possible for
Hmm.
me
Hmm.
to evangelize during a lockdown? How might it be possible for me to reach out and continue to grow in relationship with my neighbor? How might it be possible for me to run an initiative even if my parish doesn't have space or time or won't answer my emails?
Hmm.
What is possible? And to continue to have that and invite the Holy Spirit to enter in you as you discern what that might look like, what these possibilities can look like.
And if I can just, I don't want to, if I can just give a great example, we were watching our friends in Vancouver, St. Anthony of Padua Parish, and um, as things have shifted there, they've shifted their Alpha and Marriage course, I think, back online to start with the expectation that things will open up a little bit, soon. So it's like not waiting for the perfect moment and letting the perfect become the enemy of the good, but let's start in faithfulness, and then trust the Lord that that more is in store. So I love that.
If you like this video, want to invite you to give it a little like button wherever you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube. And we have got lots of webinars that we have done right here on this platform on a myriad of topics. I know we've done stuff on goal setting. I know we've done stuff on evangelization during a lockdown. I know we've done stuff on how to navigate things online. And so, whatever it is that you might be currently thinking about or struggling with, or maybe perhaps need a mindset shift on, want to invite you to peruse the content we've got here and come and join us inside of our Facebook group, where you will be joined by like minded Catholics committed to missionary discipleship. Is that a word?
Yep.
To becoming missionary disciples and doing this work, which we have been entrusted to do by virtue of our baptism.
Amen.
So let's do it. If you are going to join us for our reboot, just hit the words "I'm in" below, and we will see you inside of the Facebook group. Bye for now.